Okay, now we're going to get into some of the patterns that we're going to track in the market. And from this point on, we're going to show you a lot of examples. Okay, a lot of examples from this point in the course on, because I don't want there to be any doubt when you leave this course that the markets are indeed patterned, and then we can use those patterns and divergence to extract money from the market to give us a high probability of success with the proper risk management, of course. The ABC. The ABC pattern is basically the foundation of all the other patterns we're going to talk about here. But it's a simple three-wave cycle. A and C can be an ABC, a double, or a triple, but it's important that it is one cycle. Okay, so A and C are going to be sharp cycles. Sharp rallies or sharp declines. Wave B can be any corrective pattern, including a flat or a triangle. There's 3 swings in all, and we're going to label these as an ABC. We're going to use the letters ABC. The most common target for C is 100% to 127.2% of wave A and B. This is where we'll use our Fibonacci projection or Fibonacci expansion tool to measure wave A, pull it back to the beginning, to the end of wave B, to project the target area for wave C. Let's take a look at this on a price chart. Here we are looking at a simple A, B, C pattern. Okay, right here, A, B, C. Let me mark this off. A, B, C. And that's how we would label this. A, B, C. Now, if we get our measurement tool, we can measure this out. A, pull it back to B, and use our C wave target. Came just through equal legs, just through 100%, and I'll call that equal legs most of the time, and found support. Okay, so A, B, C, C moved to the 127, the 100 to the 127% zone, and that's where we found some support. Now, remember we talked about the markets are fractal in nature. Okay, they're fractal. So if we were to take this particular cycle here, this down cycle, and this is where I'm going to probably upset some Elliotticians here, okay, but I think we have a lot more evidence than they could ever show. And just so everybody knows, my beginnings, my foundations were in Elliott wave. I studied Elliott for many, many years. And you'll even see we borrowed some of the labeling and what we called the ABC, the doubles, the triples. We borrowed some of that language, the flat corrections. But I think you're going to see that it's very much different from Elliott wave. And this is one of the things you'll see is for A wave, this A wave here. Now, without getting too far ahead into our doubles and triples, I'm just going to look at this particular leg, this little cycle right here. Okay, remember we talked about the markets being fractal in nature. So I'm just going to take, I'll use a different label here. Don't worry about the degrees. I'm just going to label these with the same degree for now. I will get into that a little bit later. Okay, but we have an A. All right, we have a B wave setback and a C wave decline. Everybody see that? And if we measure this, let me try that again. From the top of from our A wave up to our B wave, and you can see we moved equal legs 127, right through the 127 here. Now, let's take this a step further. And I'm going to get rid of this, and now we're going to measure this entire ABC. All right, so I'm going to measure from right here, this completed cycle, ABC. We're going to pull it back to that correction, and then look at this cycle. 100%, equal legs. Now, an Elliotician is going to tell you that this is a 5-wave cycle. Okay, but I think we can demonstrate, and we're going to continue to demonstrate and show example after example after example, that you're going to see a 3-wave cycle, a pullback, another 3-wave cycle. And what make up the market moves are ABCs, doubles, and triples. Okay, now we're going to come back to this. We're going to come back to this because this is actually what we call a double. And I want to get to the section where we're covering doubles before we get back into this. Okay, but it's fascinating. I think you're going to be really fascinated when you really start to see this. Let's look again right here. Let's just go ahead and measure this. Okay, from our high to our pullback, 3-wave cycle, equal legs 127% before the market turned back down. All right, now I'm actually just going to back out of this chart a little bit, just to get so you can really get a bigger picture here of seeing the cycles. And I'm just going to do some measurements here. We're going to measure this from the low, pull this up to our high here, and pull it back. And what about that? Equal legs, 100% of that cycle. How about right here? Oops. There we go. I got my drawing tool. Equal legs 127. This one extended down to the 127. How about again here? Let's measure this down from our high to our low, back up to our correction. Equal legs 127 zone. Found support. Let's get real adventuresome and just back out of this entire cycle right here. Let's measure this from our high to our low. Let's pull it back up to that high, 100% right there. Okay, you can see it right here. Where do we target? Equal legs, 100%. You guys starting to see the patterns here? Well, wait a minute. How about this? How about if I take this swing from our low to our high and I pull that back to that 100% we just measured? What about that? 100%. Equal legs. All right, you're starting to get the point here. I think the more we show this, the more you're going to see it. Obviously, there are times where it's not going to play out perfectly, and there's things we do in those situations as well, like if it falls short, and we'll talk about that later. Or if it extends to the 162%, there's something we do with that as well. Okay, and we'll cover that later. But again, my main goal here at this point is to show you without a doubt that the markets are indeed patterned. And we're going to use those patterns to learn how to make money in this market.